Well, another question. Did you first hear about the Harry Potter books the way the rest of us did when they came? I mean, how did it, what was your first introduction? Did you read them?
I wasn't a big reader
Yeah.
at all when I was younger. My dad read the first two to me, and I enjoyed them, but didn't really follow through and or, read the rest. So I wasn't kind of swept up in it the way everyone else was. And even then, I had that slightly belligerent mindset of everybody else is loving, and I'm not going to read them. Even when I was 9, but obviously I got the part and read them and devoured them, and then I am that kind of example of a kid who didn't read much, read the books, and then just started to have a real appetite for literature, and I am that story of Harry Potter got me into reading.
Well, I think you've probably had to do this a million times, but I would like to ask you if you wouldn't mind just to take us back to this night. I believe it's in 2000 when your father takes you to the theater.
Yes.
And in front of you are two interesting people, and what happened that night?
Yeah, I mean, it's the story that has been kind of romanticized over the years. My dad was a literary agent in England, and through Norma Heyman, who is David Heyman's mum, who produced a film called Gangster Number One, which my dad represented the director, Paul McGuigan. So there was kind of a connection to David Heyman through my dad to me already. And Chris Columbus had wanted to audition me because he'd seen David Copperfield. At that time, the deal was that it would be filmed over, you would sign up for the entire series, and it was all to be filmed in America. My mum and dad went, that's too big an upheaval to his life, no. And I didn't know that any of that had happened, and nor should I have. And then the deal had. Then we had the night in the theatre where we went to see a play called Stoned in His Pockets, and there were these two men sitting in the row in front, and one of them was continually looking back over his shoulder at me, and I had no idea why. And it turns out I later found that was David Heyman and Steve Clovis, the screenwriter, who had come to the theatre that evening. I don't believe in fate, but very fortunately my parents do. So they sort of saw that as maybe being a sign that they should at least let me audition. And it's I'm feeling like I'm kind of talking myself into believing in fate now that I'm telling you that story out loud. But yeah, it was, and then I had my first audition, and I came to the process very late. I think Emma and Rupert had both had about 6 or 7 auditions by the time I came into it. I only had, I think, 3 near the end, because I think I auditioned for the first time in maybe late June, and they started filming in September, so it was might have been a matter of desperation.
By the time you were permitted to go and audition, they had decided they were going to do, you were only committing for 2?
We're only committing for 2, but yes, that was the other part, is when by the time that evening in the theatre happened, the deal had changed so that it would be signing on for only 2 films, and they were both going to be filmed in England.
Okay.
So that was, yeah.
So how did you find out you got the part? Where were you? What happened?
I was in the bath, and as I have said many a time, it is true. I was in the bath, and my dad came in and told me the news, and yeah, it was I was just very happy. I had no idea, I'd done well. I didn't know any of this would happen. Like that was it. That was all it was about. I was really pleased. Oh, I must have done well in those auditions then. That's good. And yeah, and that was that. And my reward and the thing I requested that night was then, well, does that mean I can stay up half an hour later so I can watch the post-Watershed version of Fawlty Towers? Not that there was anything different from the pre-Watershed version. It just started at 9, and that was exciting.
So as the process began to move along, J.K. Rowling at one point said, quote, "I don't think Chris Columbus could have found a better Harry." How important was it to you to have her blessing and endorsement like that?
Well, very. I mean, it's her character. I always, when I hear actors say things like, I don't know about, if my character would do that and things, I always think, when did it become your character? You didn't write that. So that, I mean, I've always felt, it's her character, and I have always felt a duty to her, and whenever she tells you that you're doing well and that you know, she sees the film and she thinks, and she comments on a specific moment or something. It was always very, very gratifying to know that, you know, we had her support. But she was always so supportive of the series and all of us, and also very, you know, she knows how good the books are, and she knows that nothing the films could do could ever debase that in any way. So she's, I think, very comfortable with the idea of films being made, and has always been very supportive, and you know, will be there as much as we want her to be there. But, you know, she doesn't feel like, you know, a presence on set. You know, she only came out for a few visits. It wasn't like the author standing over the director, making sure everything's okay. It was nothing like that. She was always just very, very excited by the series, I think.